Hello, okay, my dear friends. It's nice to see you again. We are now reviewing sections 8.1 through 8.3, ready to go on. We have a quiz on Tuesday, so I picked out 3 problems that I think might be the trickiest in here that I'd like to go over with you. Number 3, number 5, and number 17. Okay. So number 3 is go back to geometric mean. We need to find the geometric mean, and I picked this one because they gave you 2 fractions and thought that might be kind of scary for you. So we'd review that because I am here to help. So if you remember, the geometric mean is the 2 numbers a and b multiplied together, a times b, and then you just take the square root of that. So we've got 2 fractions, so we're going to multiply our fractions and take the square root. Now, first thing you should check is if you can cross-cancel anything. Unfortunately, I can't. But always check that if you have fractions. Can you reduce that? 5 and 8, 2 and 15 don't have any common factors, so I can't. So let's just remember, when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. So I'm going to do 5 times 15 and 2 times 8. So 5 times 15, that is 75. And 2 times 8 is 16. So now I just need to take the square root. Now that right there might look kind of scary, but little review of square roots, what that really means is I'm just going to take the square root of each number. And you can see that makes it a little more manageable because, hey, I know what the square root of 16 is. The square root of 16 is, yes, very good, Elliot, it is 4. Square root of 16 is 4. And then how about the square root of 75? A little more work, but not too bad because we're looking for what big square goes into 75. And you can think of 75 as the square root of 25 and the square root of, 3. The square root of 3. So the square root of 25 is 5. I can't square root 3. So this simplifies to 5 from the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. So square root of 16 was just 4. Square root of 75 was 5 root 3. And some of you might even have calculators that do that for you. In a pinch, that's fine. Though I would make sure you learn to do this on your own, how to simplify these radicals. But again, when you multiply fractions, just multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. When you think of square rooting it, think of square rooting each number independently, and it's not so bad. So 5 root 3 divided by 4. Okay, number 5 is then applying those the similarity ratios of an altitude in a right triangle to find these missing segments. And so just to review that, we learned that this altitude, this part you're just going to have to make sure you've memorized, that this altitude, y squared, is equal to these 2 numbers multiplied. So y squared is going to be equal to x times 24. I'm not going to be able to do that yet because, look, I have 2 variables. Okay, so z squared is going to be equal to x times the entire distance across, oftentimes called c, but that would be x plus 24. Notice 2 variables. I'm not going to be able to solve that yet either. Okay, so let's turn to over here, 12 root 5. So 12 root 5 squared is equal to 24 times the entire side here. Notice for this one, 24 because it's the side that corresponds to this side. I had x here because it corresponded to this side here. So 24 times the entire thing, which was x plus 24. And I can see where I need to start because I only have one variable, x. So let's work on this right over here. I don't know if we should switch colors. I just kind of randomly do it. Okay, so 12 root 5 squared equals 24 times x plus 24. So I'm going to figure out what this number is. 12 squared is 144. Root 5 squared is 5. If you weren't confident in how to do that, just plug this into your calculator and square it, and you'll get an answer. Equals 24x plus whatever 24 times 24 is. I don't know that. 24 times 24. Oops, that's going to be wrong. 24. 576. 576. And 144 times 5 sure I clear this. 144 times 5 equals 720. So 720 equals 24x plus 575. Okay, now it's algebra. Just going to subtract 575 because we're going to try to get x by itself. So minus 575. So 720 minus 575. All right, so 145 equals 24x. We're going to divide by 24, both sides. And we get 6. And that is correct. So x, 6 equals x. So I found my first variable. This is 6. And that's going to make solving all the rest of these a lot easier. Though you can see I didn't leave myself quite enough room on this paper, so we might have to cheat and do some of the work down here. Sorry, number 17. So if I know x, now I'm quite capable of finding z and y. Because y squared, is simply this number times this number. So y squared is 6 times 24. So go ahead, clear it out. 6 times 24 is 144. So y squared equals 144. That means y is the square root of 144, which is just 12. Closing in on your problem. Your days are numbered. Y equals 12. Notice I fill in the answers. I think that's just a great way to do problems like this so you can see everything all together at the same time. But anyway, all right. And so now we have z. And z squared was this squared equals this leg times the entire leg. So that means, we'll just switch colors for contrast. Z squared equals 6 times 6 plus 24. So that's 30. So that means z squared equals 180. And that means z squared is equal to, or z is equal to the square root of 180. And 180 breaks into, I believe, 36 times 5. Yep, that's correct. So we could think of this as the square root of 36 times the square root of 5. I can simplify that to 6 root 5. So z is 6 square root 5. And if you had that as a decimal answer and you were working with that, again, that's not a huge problem. So there we go. Notice the key was you got to memorize these. You got to know these. You got to know these relationships. And then you need to find the one that only has one variable, start with that one, and then the dominoes will fall. Now you can see these went much faster once I did that first initial step. Okay, let's move quickly on to number 17. This is solving this triangle. So that means I've already written it out. We need to find all 3 angles and all 3 sides. I'm going to fill in the information I have. I know angle B, it is 90 degrees. I know side C, angle C is 32. Angle A, you're going to be very easy to find. And then I know side C is 22. So 1 angle to find and 2 sides to find. Angle A is very easy. It's simply complementary with 32. So 90 minus 32 is going to give me angle A. And so that is 58. Notice I'm boxing my answers, trying to show you how beautiful your comp book should look. Angle A is 58 degrees. And now we're going to solve for the side. So let me write that in, 58. So again, the trick is pick your favorite angle, whichever one makes you happy. I think we'll go with 58 since he's new to the show. And then I need to find side B or side A. And I have to use 22. So if I'm using 58, 22 is adjacent. So I'm either going to use cosine, SOHCAHTOA. I'm either going to use cosine because I have adjacent and hypotenuse if I want to find B first, or I'm going to use tangent because I have opposite and adjacent to find A. I'm going to go ahead and start with A because then I can use Pythagorean theorem to easily find B. So what did we say? So from 58, A is tangent, opposite over adjacent. So tangent of 58 degrees equals opposite A over adjacent 22. And then to solve that, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 22. And so A is equal to 22 tangent 58. Again, in situations where you don't have calculators, that's actually your final answer, though it's kind of scary looking for some. So tangent of 58, 22 times tangent of 58. And so that side length looks like it's 35. We're supposed to round to the nearest hundredth. So 35.21 is what we're going to go with. That is correct. So A is equal to 35.21. Sorry, hopefully I'm showing you this calculator good enough. So boom, baby. I like it. 35.21. So now I've got, write that everywhere. I just need to find side B. I could do another trig ratio. I could go ahead and do cosine of this. Cosine of which 58 is adjacent over hypotenuse and find B that way. Or I can just use in fact, I'm going to do that because I kind of think that's even easier than Pythagorean theorem. 22 squared plus 35.21 squared, and then reduce the answer. But why not? We'll just do that for fun. So here we go. Cosine of 58 equals ka, adjacent over hypotenuse, ka, like you got a cough or something, adjacent 22 over hypotenuse B. And so now B is just going to be 22 divided by cosine 58. Go back and watch the other videos if you're not sure how I quickly did that, but we're doing it the fast way today because we are reviewing. And so 22 divided by cosine of 58. Should close my parentheses, but I'd be fine if I didn't. And there we have it, 41.52. And that is in fact correct. 41. So B equals 41.52. Just fit it in there at the bottom. And that is the hypotenuse, so I'm happy to see that that answer is the biggest of my three side lengths. So my answer even makes sense, 41.52. So I'm boxing my big answer there. So I have now successfully solved my triangle. So ready to go on. These are just three of, I think, the kind of the trickier problems you'll find. But again, Zoom me with any questions. I would love to help you and hear from you.